Yeah, man. What's up, everybody? What's good? You know, the thing is this, man, and we've been talking here, some of us here, over 5 years, man. Some over 3 years we've been talking, chopping it up about life and everything, And the thing is this, man, you're gonna have, which is still being used, you're gonna still have situations where they're still attempting to utilize religion as a way to re-assimilate you to the system guidance. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of videos out there, and I'm talking about this because it's the holiday season, man. It's the holidays, and this is the time where a lot of us, a lot of men, start yearning or desiring, remember those years of having a family, if you had one, Christmas and all that, the holidays, and you get sentimental and your guard might drop. You get more vulnerable around the holidays. You know what I'm saying? So, I guess I gotta make this type of message once in a while, hopefully help some guys out. But the thing is this, man, they're gonna attempt to re-assimilate you to the system any way they can, especially with religion, man, especially with religion. They're gonna bring up God, they're gonna bring up the role you gotta play as a man of God and so on, even though we know that the church, religion in general, the churches in general have put God behind the government. The government comes before God. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it. Why would you, for example, when you're getting married, why would the church allow you to bring the government in this marriage when this is before God? You know what I'm saying? This is before God. Why would any religious, anybody that's religious marry you under a certificate of the government, under anything that has to do with the government, if God comes first? Think about that, man. If God comes first, why would the church agree to put the government within that church to marry you under God with the government's certificates and the government's approval? Why would any religious person agree to do that? And it shows you that a lot of people don't research or are aware of religion. For example, you got the Catholic faith, Christianity. You have segments where they were charging people for tickets to heaven. They were charging people for tickets to heaven. You know what I'm saying? A lot of men don't do their research or aren't aware or choose to ignore it that, dude, the church has been for sale. Religion has been for sale forever, man. It's been for sale, bro. And if you look up the history, you'll see moments where they literally sold people tickets to heaven, or they promised them ways to heaven. We know back in the war in Iraq, the virgins and all that, if you take yourself out and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? Why would the church, people invest in the church? How would you invest in the church and believe in the church when, they literally will bring the government into your marriage, which is under God? You know what I'm saying? And you got to understand that the church has been for the government for quite some time. You know what I'm saying? You could look up the history of religious people touching the children and so on, minor chasing, we know that, you know what I'm saying? So you could look at that, and if they get favor from the government, let's be honest, with all the molestation cases in many religious churches and so on, man, a lot of them will be shut down, or a lot of them there would be some type of church investigation unit. Just how you have, people that look and make sure the food is safe. There would probably be some whole faction set up or organization set up that goes to churches and makes sure they're safe, but there isn't. You know what I'm saying? Because the church put God behind the government long before we were born. You know what I'm saying? Long ago. And they'll put a lot of men in this thing of, you got to get married, you got to do this in the name of God, and women and men, you got to find yourself a Christian woman, this and that. When the truth is, dude, women are only the religion that a man's authority demands and can maintain for them. That's it. That's it, man. A lot of that has to do with that. And they want you in this system to get married, you know what I'm saying, to a so-called Christian woman and so on. You know what I'm saying? When the truth is, bro, women can change their religion at the drop of a dime. They're not held religiously accountable as men are. You know what I'm saying? Men are held religiously accountable because, dude, we have reasons for trust, war, violence amongst each other. We won't hold back against each other. And if you pretended to follow faith and I shared secrets and resources with you, you're going to pay for that. But the women, you know what I'm saying? The women, for the most part, most of the time, they've been converted anyway. When the village will be pillaged or they would lose wars and all that stuff, what you think the men would do? They'd wipe out the grown men. You know what I'm saying? They'd wipe them out, probably enslave some of the weak men, but they would convert and have children with those women. You know what I'm saying? The women naturally will convert. So this whole narrative of, find yourself a God-fearing woman, when we have how much evidence of women just betraying their faith anyway, moving away from it. You know what I'm saying? Because the women don't have to remain in their religion, because the shame in the legal ramifications don't exist. I've been saying this for years, man. I had content, the church betrayed you. What is that? That's got to be over 4 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I've said that. The thing is this, dude. The women, they can pretend to be whatever religion they want to be. You know what I'm saying? Especially in a country where the men have no authority and the men can't hold them accountable for anything anyway, such as we are in the West, America, England, Ireland, whatever you want to call them. Any country where the women's vote has the same value as the men can't hold them accountable. You know what I'm saying? So what you have is they'll bait you with, find yourself a Christian woman, even though you're marrying under a church, in a church, under the certificate of the government. Even though God should come before the government, but you're marrying with a certificate of the government. And when they said you're not supposed to mix state, I forget it, what is it? You shouldn't be mixing state and religion or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So from the very beginning, it's breaking the morality of religion anyway. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of men, you'll come to that point where, you know what I'm saying? You're struggling to cope. You're vulnerable. So you're going to invest in your religion, and eventually your religion might lead you to the system guidance, because your religion is already in bed with the government. You know what I'm saying? The very fact that you get married in a church, a pastor or whatever you want to call him, a father, would even perform the act of marriage under the stipulations of the government, in the house of God, shows you where it stands. You know what I'm saying? And you might find yourself vulnerable, whatever your religion is, Christian, Catholic, you know what I'm saying, Hindu, Muslim, whatever your religion. You might find yourself vulnerable and, leapfrog into, you know what, let me just follow my religion. Let me give up my logic and reasoning to my religion. You know what I'm saying? My religion wouldn't steer me wrong. I'll just ignore every aspect of them steering me wrong to find a woman of my religion. When the truth is, the woman is just playing the role. You know, this is because of how this government works. The women just get to act, and they can choose to be Christian, Muslim, whenever they want. It's a game. It's an act. In a country where men can't hold nothing accountable, nor have any authority, anything the woman does that is so-called loyal for the men is literally that, an act. You know what I'm saying? Men, when they said till death do us part, that's for the men. You know, in a country where you have no authority as a man, that's till death do us part is you, the man. That's why the system is set up the way it is, alimony, child support, and so on. You said you are bound to this woman till death do you part in this with the state's legal presence, you know? That's where you said it, with the state. And the state looks at it as, well, he said till death, so we can just keep getting money from him until he dies. You know what I'm saying? And even in death, if we can get some money off of him then with life insurance and all that, we could do that, you know? This is what some men will fall for, the whole church scam and their religion scam, you know, to assimilate to the system guidance. You know what I'm saying? You know, logic and reasoning will keep you away, but you might find a way. You might, like I tell a lot of guys, bro, we have far more years, you know, it's not just simping. We have far more years of experience dedicated to serving the system guidance and following the system guidance than we do not having it. You know what I'm saying? Many men, you know, especially if you're a millennial, Gen Xer, when we were raised at the house, we couldn't do nothing else, you know what I'm saying? Or an older Zoomer or whatever, where you couldn't, it was engraved in your mind for, like, you know, your beginning years from age 0 in the womb to when you're born for the next 12 to 13 years, you know? So there's a lot of guys, especially now, will find themselves vulnerable, where you'll abandon logic and reasoning for religion. You know what I'm saying? You'll turn back to your religion. You're going to pull out your book and read, you know, verse 1, chapter 3, a theist, and Adonis 13, and all that stuff. You're going to read all that. And you're going to basically hypnotize yourself. That's what a lot of men don't know, is if you keep reading the same thing over and over again, you're hypnotizing yourself, man. You know, and a lot of men, you know, especially now, will be feeling vulnerable. If you feel vulnerable, you know, I told guys with full-time ghosting, where I made that video, how you could stay a ghost and all that. You know, it's constant work, man. You will end up, so long as you're in a domestic setting where the legal issues and parameters of that system guidance is, you know, absolute and overwhelmingly powerful. You know, I mean, they spend trillions of dollars. I'd say trillions of dollars are spent a day, billions daily are spent to advertise and maintain this system guidance. And you have to be careful. You know what I'm saying? You got to be careful, because the thing is this, like I said, one way or another, you know, a lot of men don't get in the manosphere that, you know, men have been trained out this manosphere to, you know, avoid, you know, you won't give up your life for sexuality. You know, a woman's sexy, attractive, you ain't gonna give that up. You know what I'm saying? But if a woman's kind, if a woman's reading some religious books and this and that, might look the part, sound the part, your guard will be down. Or find sympathy, your guard will be down. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, that's why I tell guys with full-time ghosting, man, when I made that video, Casper Pill 3.0, I told you, you're going to have to eventually ghost yourself. You're going to have to ghost yourself, man. You know what I mean? Like I said, Casper Pill 3 and 2, you're going to have to ghost yourself, man. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to learn what you've been trained to pursue versus what you've put yourself to pursue, what you've introduced yourself to pursue. And like I said, a lot of trappings. There's, like I said, in the manosphere, the mass majority of men, the red pill is a scam. We've buried the red pill. Damn, over 4 years ago we buried it. We had a funeral for it. You know what I mean? But the red pill is designed, because it's a domestic, it's designed for you to pursue and remain domestic and eventually surrender yourself to the system. It's a trap. Well, that's why they're rewarding these guys with monetization and money, because the red pill tells men to stay here. Stay here and so-called be strong, be an authority, and you could find a good woman if she follows your lead and all that. When that's an act, even if it's not an act, you never know, man. The way relationships work now in the States, it's about, unless it's ended, you know what I'm saying? Unless the relationship has ended, then you can't claim that you're in there forever. You know what I'm saying? Forever ends, you know, the only time you reach forever is when it's at an end. And the thing is this, for men is in a relationship in this domestic country is that, you know what I'm saying? You're in a relationship, it just means that, well, it hasn't, there's still room and time for it to end tragically. That's why I've said in a live stream that any man that's married can't tell you that they're going to be married forever. They can't. Because the only time they can say they're married forever is A, they died a married man, or their wife passed away before them, and they're married forever. You know, she never divorced them or left them. That's how it is here in this system. You know what I'm saying? It's like I used to tell guys, it's a ticking time bomb. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that I've been telling guys this, I got in a lot of trouble. You know, they say, the women are the most delusional. You know, no, the men are the most delusional. You as a man are the most delusional, because it's our delusion as men that made this society the way it is anyway. We got to the technology and everything. A man said, you know what? I'm going to control the rain. I'm going to control the water. I'm going to control the light. You know, we get fire, we get light bulbs and all that. You know, think about it. A man had to say, you know what? Yeah, fire's cool and all, but I'm going to make light without fire. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make light without fire. That's how insane we are, man. You know what I'm saying? That's how delusional, and that's how, you know, disposable we are to our thoughts, you know, as men. We will literally look at what's happening now. Men are looking into the stars and saying, bro, I'm going to leave Earth. I'm going to leave Earth, man. You know what I mean? If you look at it logically, there's no reason to leave the Earth from a nature standpoint. There's no reason. But a man's mind is beyond nature. You know what I'm saying? And that's a positive and a negative. The positive is great things could be achieved. The negative is we're so driven by our mind, we will become absolutely, our body and our existence will become absolutely disposable in pursuit of our mind. You know what I'm saying? That's why is it the mind or the brain? You know, that's why you got this. But reason I bring this up is that, think about it. A man who's making billions of dollars will risk and sacrifice that for some ass and titties. Let me repeat that. A man with billions of dollars, millions of dollars, inheritance, you know what I'm saying, will sacrifice that for ass, tits, a blowjob, a hand job. You know what I'm saying? He will sacrifice all that for minuscule things, even having children. A man will sacrifice it all just to have children. When, dude, you can have children anywhere. It's nothing special. When you think about the act of having and making children, it's not really special. When you think about it, when, dude, you can have kids anywhere in the world. But a man here domestically with all the legal odds against him, because he's so delusional, An insane will sacrifice and risk his entire future for some ass and titties and a lips, whatever part of the woman's body, or even a voice. Oh man, her voice, her eyes. You know what I'm saying? That's why I got in trouble. You know, some men stay away from me. It is what it is. Some men will never invite me to their channel. Some will never interview. Some will never react to anything I say because I talk about male delusion. I speak of what they fear. And what they fear is the fact that they are delusional. That they fear is that all this contempt towards the women is to deny accountability and maintain their delusion that the women created feminism and all this crap. You know, create an enemy that, you know what I'm saying, as though the women had a choice. As though the women had a choice to vote and all that stuff. It was all funded by a fellow man, but, you know, to say that would break the monopoly of selling men a lack of accountability so they can live this so-called battle of the sexes scam. You know what I'm saying? You know, that they make their profit from and money from to tell you the big bad boogeyman, feminism and women exists, while at the same time telling you we men are the strongest and the smartest. If we're the strongest and the smartest, then how the hell can we be the strongest and the smartest, yet at the same time you're telling me the big bad feminism, the big bad wolf is a woman? You know what I'm saying? That it's insanity. You know, that's what the red pill is. The red pill is basically men militarizing their insanity. You know what I'm saying? Militarizing their insanity to create an invisible war. You know what I'm saying? To create an invisible war against women so they can basically obtain resources through men without fathers that are vulnerable. And at the same time, as you've seen with all these guys from the red pill that have been interviewed by mainstream, Jordan Lee Peterson, Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fraud, Abba and Preach, all these Coach Greg, all these frauds, you know, scammers and, you know, idiots, you know what I'm saying? They got, you know, interviewed by mainstream, pursue mainstream. They dilute men. They preach this big bad feminism so they can have men funding them for a goal that can't be won when there's trillions of dollars paid by their fellow man to maintain this feminism they speak about. Their fellow man is paying to maintain it, and they have no resources to combat it. But they preach that they're fighting feminism, blah, blah, blah. You know, men's rights activists, red pillars, you know, MGTOW, this and that. You know what I'm saying? Pushing all this garbage because they hope to get big enough, as you've seen with Andrew Tate, who been interviewed, who's been in the UFC. They know this will not go anywhere. This is just marketing and advertisement to get men to fight to remain in the domestic system guidance, to remain in the system guidance. The red pill is nothing more than reverse engineering. You know what I'm saying? It's literally reverse engineering men to think they're fighting for something by remaining there and pursuing the situation in the same location. You know what I'm saying? I might have said the word wrong. It might, you know, but it basically pushes and tells men you're fighting for something, when the truth is you're not fighting for nothing. You're not fighting for nothing at all. You know what I'm saying? You're doing nothing more than fighting to remain a target. You know, you're fighting to remain a target. I think Andrew Tate's been on news stations because the red pill is a trap to keep men domesticated. You know what I'm saying? To not understand the opportunities. Even though America is making money around the world, the dollar is being used around the world. You got red pillers telling men that, nope, the dollar is only useful here in the USA. It's a scam. It's a trap. And most importantly, like I've been saying for years, you know, is that the red pill, why YouTube is rewarding it, is because It's telling men to stay here. Stay here so we have opportunities to have you relapse and reassimilate to the system guidance, you know? And like I said, for men, man, what I said with this full-time ghosting, you know, since it started, you know, you're with the Casper pill to where we are now, full-time ghosting, is that, dude, this is gonna be a lonely path. You know, this is a lonely path. Even all of us here talking amongst each other, it's a group of individual men, a group of men that are on a lone path. It just so happens that we're not getting in the way of one another. That's why guys here will come and go. You know what I'm saying? Because we're all doing our own thing. We just so happen to be, you know, at a point where we're heading and living our lives that we don't get in the way of one another. No one here is telling anyone to remain trapped, fight to be trapped. Nah, no one's telling people to do that full-time ghosting. It's, dude, we live in our lives, bro, at any time, so long as you're, you know, full-time ghosting and you're not trying to trap men, tell them fight for love, go for the church and all these traps and scams, you know, we could talk. We could talk. As long as you're not attached to idealism, attached to the system, you know what I'm saying, as your final pursuit in life, we got no problems. That means you're a free man. I'm a free man. You know what I'm saying? We're all free talking. And the thing about freedom is that if we're all free and we're talking at any moment, we can all go about our own way. You know what I'm saying? We could go about our own way. You know what I'm saying? We just, oh man, been talking for years. Well, bro, it was great. I'm gonna be here from now on. All right, brother, peace. You know? That's how it is, bro. And right now, like I said, with the holidays here, October's past, you know, we're getting to Thanksgiving, November, where, you know, food, family, whatever, Christmas, family, presents, New Year, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Valentine's and all that stuff. Men will get vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Your nostalgia for the past, you know, you're gonna get vulnerable. You know what I mean? With that vulnerability, you might plunge into a situation where you could shut off your brain. That might be your religion. You know what I'm saying? That might be your religion. That might be your nationality, whatever, your traditions, whatever. You know what I'm saying? We grew up in this holiday system. Think about the holidays. If you think about it right now, the fall holidays and the setup. October, November, December, January, February. Yo, that's 5 months straight. 5 months straight, man. That's 5 months straight, man. You know what I mean? That's 5 months straight, man. You could get trapped in, you know, 5 months straight. And think about it. You've been going through these holidays 5 months straight. Some of us for over 20 years. Some of us for over 40 years. You know what I'm saying? 5 months straight, man. For over 40 years, over 30 years, over 20 years, you know? You know what I'm saying? So it shapes a lot in your life. And you will be vulnerable around this time. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, man, I just had to share that with y'all. Hopefully it helps some people. And, you know what it is. Hold the truth hostage. Where the truth was so important, wouldn't negotiate with lies, and full-time ghosting isn't an option. It's the only choice, full-time ghost. You know, we living in a time of no secrets, man. Anybody telling you there's secrets and things being hidden, they lying. Peace. Yo, hold the truth hostage. Yo, hold the truth hostage. Yo, hold the truth hostage.